Welcome to high school.
A little earlier.
I'll be teaching you social studies. This is your first period of the day, and I am Mr. Simile.
I'm Mrs. Simile. Hiya.
Thank you. I have a microphone because I like to hear my voice. No. Actually, I have a microphone because if you can't tell, I'm starting to lose my voice. But tonight I want to talk about social studies. Social studies is the study of different cultures, different societies. Let's see what else I write down. You know, their study of people, cultures, and society. You know, it wasn't that long ago that I was in school.
You got 43.
Yeah. All right. I remember, you know, you always remember those teachers. And I don't remember my kindergarten teacher. The only thing I remember out kindergarten, honestly, is once a week we had show and tell. We had like chocolate milk. And we had these little wooden toy cars and trucks that we could run around the room with. That's all I remember in kindergarten. You know? But then I remember my second grade teacher. Her name was Mrs. D. And every day I gave her a kiss on the way home because we would line up at the door and all of a sudden, and there's the door and we can go home, and she'd say goodbye to every one of us. And every day I'd give her a kiss. Mrs. D, what up? Yeah, I was already cheating on your mom. You know?
First crush.
And I remember my elementary school principal, Mrs. Combs. She's this older lady. She had this white beehive. Man, and I remember I wrote a book. In 5th grade, we used to write these books that we have to read a book. We read a book, and I said if I was the principal, and of course I got called to the principal's office, and I had to read her my book, and she thought it was the greatest thing in the world. You know, and then there's other teachers. When in 7th grade, I remember Mrs. Strike, because Mrs. Strike invested her life in me. I had some troubles. I wasn't I was a good student, you know, but I had some relational issues. And she invested her life in me. She found value in who I was. In high school, I had Mrs. J. Her name was Mrs. Jaquette. Everybody called her Mrs. J. She was a phenomenal teacher. And then there was Mrs. Sofer. She was a college and careers place. You went there and found about colleges and stuff. You know, Mrs. J and Mrs. Ferraro. Mrs. Ferraro and we used to cook together. I was in 12th grade. I was the cooking teacher's aide. It was awesome. You know, so and there's a lot of other teachers that I remember. You know, but those are some of them. And then I remember my chemistry teacher, Mr. McElroy. He was, you know, but he hated freshmen. How many of you guys are 9th graders? He hated you. He just hated you. All right? Hey, and I went to, I work at a nuclear plant, and I just find it very fitting that I went to Albert Einstein Senior High School. I'm serious. I'm not kidding.
We would do that.
Yeah, all right. But he had these shoes that flipped up, and he had these little ties. But he was a good teacher, and he held you accountable and everything else. But, you know, the one teacher I remember, my social studies teacher that I remember was Mrs. Robeson. Robeson. And if you spell her name backwards, her name was Mrs. Nosebore. And that's what she used to do at her desk. While we were doing, I remember, you know, I don't remember learning about any of the countries or anything else, but I remember about her. You know, but social studies. I want to talk to you about, and the social studies is the study of the world and sociology and all those other things. And I want to talk to you about being in the world. In Ephesians 22, 11 through 25 says, "Therefore remember that formerly you who were Gentiles by birth and called uncircumcised by those who call themselves the circumcision, remember the body by the hands of men. Remember that at that time you were separate from Christ, excluded from citizenship in Israel, and foreigners to the covenants of the promise, without hope and without God in the world. In other words, the doors are closed, you were not invited in. You could not come to God. And aliens, but fellow citizens with God's people and members of God's household. When I started thinking this, I came up with a title that says, we are not of this world. Social studies is a study of the world and how we fit in. But God says that we are not of this world. When I started thinking this and I read this verse and I saw the word alien, I went back and I found the alien. And alien is a noun, it's also an adjective. And there's a couple definitions that you can find on the word alien. The first thing is strange. Outside somebody's normal or previous experience. It was an alien practice. It was alien to him. The second one is inconsistent with somebody or something. Not in keeping or totally incompatible with the nature of somebody or something. Ideas that were alien to her philosophy. Now, when I think of alien, the third definition comes to mind. I think of extraterrestrial, Area 51. Halloween's coming up and kids like to dress as aliens. We've made a whole culture on aliens. How many of you guys have stayed up late at night and listened to WIOD 610, George Norrie, Coast to Coast? Oh my God, those are some serious wackos.
Yeah, bro.
Oh my goodness.
Something about my uncle like that.
Yeah. I listen to them when I go to work. I've been going to work. It's on from like midnight or 1 till 5 o'clock in the morning. And they put some weird stuff on there. They talk about alien abductions and they talk about these Air Force colonels and stuff that saw UFOs. And they talk about a lot. They talk about out-of-body experience, weird stuff. But we have a whole culture about aliens. People believe that there's Area 51 where we got movies. Independence Day.
Yes.
Great movie, lots of fun movie. One of a great movie that I love that came out last year was District 9. Talks about aliens. When you think of alien, the first thing that comes to mind is a little big head dude or a extraterrestrial thing that flies around, and when it drives over, your car shuts down. When I was a kid, E.T. came out, the movie. Oh no.
That movie was epic.
And this is what the definition of alien is. From another world or part of the universe. And God says that we are no longer foreigners or aliens. But let's look at the fourth definition. Not from country. Not a citizen of, I love this, or not belonging to the country in question. We have a big debate going on, and it affects a lot of families and a lot of cultures around here with what we term illegal aliens.
That's right.
Right? Aliens or illegal aliens. You can be a legal citizen or a illegal citizen, depending on how you get here. But an alien is someone where it says is not a citizen of. So if you're not a citizen of the United States, you are an alien. Now you can be a legal alien or an illegal alien, and I'm not going to fight about that. I'm just using it as an expression right now. It doesn't really matter, okay? But I love what it says, or not belonging to. But if we go back to what God says, He said in Corinthians, He said, all right, for through Him we both have access to the Father. Through Jesus Christ, we both have access to God the Father. Consequently, we are no longer foreigners and aliens, but fellow citizens with God's people.